Hello everyone, and now welcome to Game 2 in the series here on Ohana. Both players opening up with different non-conventional openings, or at least openings that I haven't seen in quite some time. Now, I was talking a little bit about my strengths versus my weaknesses in the previous game before all the action broke loose. Let me go ahead and introduce the positions before I do a little bit of talking about things that are not directly related to the game. Hyun spawning as the blue Zerg on the top left-hand side of the map. Revival spawning on the bottom right-hand side of the map as the red Zerg. Now, even though I am a StarCraft 2 caster and I cast StarCraft 2 pretty regularly and heavily, unfortunately, this is not my full-time job, and I'm not able to study the replays nearly as much as I would like, as say Apollo or Artosis or some of the more well-known casters out there. Now, my strengths do lie in the fact that I do know the game a lot in terms of technical calculations and a lot behind the numbers. One thing we are going to note right off the bat, Revival is going for, I believe, a very fast pull once more. I believe the timing on that could have been a 10 pull, as we are going now into the extractor, and Revival learning his lesson from last time, wanting to get gas a little bit more quickly so that he can pressure down those Zerglings faster. Meanwhile, Hyun is now up with his spawning pool just now. He does not yet have gas. So I do know the game technically, and I'm able to make predictions based upon the experience that I've seen, or experience I had from watching games. Now, the more games I watch, the better I will become at making analytical remarks and analysis, but I don't have the time to watch games in very fast forward, since the number of replays that I do have are fairly limited. We are going to see Revival move out with these Zerglings, and it is going to be a Baneling's Nest, and we're also going to see a hatchery come into position here. An Overlord coming in from Hyun has already scouted this batch of Zerglings underway, as Revival is now adding in 4 more. This is going to be very critical here, as Revival is going to be going into a Baneling's Nest to follow this up. Now, if Hyun believes that he can just utilize Zerglings to fend off this attack, he is very much mistaken this time around, as the Banelings do exchange fairly well. Here we are going to see 6 Zerglings versus 6 Zerglings, both sides doing a little bit of a dance. Drones coming off the mineral line in order to place down a little bit more pressure. The drones and the Zerglings actually working together, but every moment that these drones are not mining is precious minerals lost, essentially, as Revival is behind in terms of overall economy here. But Baneling's going to be coming out. Oh, this could be absolutely huge, as the Zerglings now perhaps going to try to take down those other Zerglings there. One Baneling may pop, but if it has, as long as it exchanges, is it going to exchange well? That is the key question there. The Baneling, oh, might get detonated. There goes 2. Not a good exchange, as the Zerglings are now trying to engage again. There you go. You see another exchange. 2 for 1. That is a good number for Hyun, as the Zerglings are now backing away, and Hyun is in a beautiful position to defend this. So far, I do not see any more Banelings in production. Zerglings are now looking to get away. You can see the Zergling numbers just going back and forth. Overall, there are currently 14 Zerglings on here, and now Revival is losing a lot of his Zerglings. This is not good for Hyun, as the Zerglings are now looking to back off once more. Zerglings now pulling away again. More and more Zerglings just moving around, and Revival looks like he will be losing another scouting Overlord once more, as the Queens were able to get up right onto that cliff and get the kill. So far, Revival in a bit of trouble, needs to place down a hatchery, and will be doing so right underneath TSL's Hyun's Overlord, really tipping his hand, as we now see triple Overlords coming in from Hyun as well. Queen's now laying down creep tumors, a spine crawler on the ramp, and Hyun is going to be very much set up for the mid game. All right. So far, we see more Zerglings are making their way out. Revival is not in a good position whatsoever. You can see that Revival is trying to place pressure down, even though he is significantly behind in terms of overall army supply. Taking a look at the army supply, it is 23 versus 18, a very large difference here, as the Zerglings are being forced to retreat and run all the way back home. 24 over 26. Hyun sitting at 39 over 52. And also note that Revival only has one queen. With only one queen, he can only hope to do so much in dealing with these Zerglings. This hatchery may force a cancellation here from Revival as Revival tries to run away with that drone, unable to do so, and it really feels like Hyun has Revival's number. It is a 50% discrepancy between these two armies' supply right now, as we are adding on additional spine crawlers here. So Hyun, even though he is ahead, he knows that Revival is playing very, very aggressively, and he wants to make sure he doesn't simply fall to an overly aggressive Zerg player. More Zerglings being added. Harvester count is 29 to 22. He knows that he doesn't need to overly invest in drones, since he does have the economic advantage simply by way of having that second hatchery and that extra 8 minerals. Banelings looking to make their way up, but they are not going to do nearly as much damage as they would like up against those queens. Queens, essentially no real keyword that takes additional damage except for, I guess, a queen or a ghost's snipe. Drones now making their way in. Revival looking to perhaps surpass his opponent in terms of overall drone count. We are seeing at 55, 54 compared to 39, as here comes the Congo line again. Hyun, interestingly enough, still does not have metabolic boost and is currently not researching. Revival has double extractors, but it only has one drone on gas. That is going to be a bit of an issue here, as Banelings may make their way in, and those Zerglings do look to back off. All right. Now, these Banelings are going to be very, very key in dealing with the large sea of Zerglings. If Revival can do an exchange, a 1 for 5 or 1 for 7, which is possible with Baneling hits, things could switch around very, very easily. These two Banelings taking down anywhere from 10 to 15 Zerglings will pretty much even up the playing field a bit, as we now see an additional, no additional queens being added. This is still rather strange. Revival perhaps looking and scouting for an overlord that he still does not spot. Revival now getting into a little bit more of a roach count, which I do agree with, but Hyun is now taking the time to set up his third base and utilizing spine crawlers with Zerglings to take down the destructible rocks. Even though the overall supply is about even, Harvester advantage does show a different story. Hyun sitting at 68 over 68. He will be able to transfer in drones from his main and his natural to get less diminishing returns here at the third base. Meanwhile, overlords are in position to perhaps set up for any preemptive attacks. One thing I will say is that Revival has been very good about not staying supply blocked very long. Hyun, on the other hand, has been forced to train 2 to 3 overlords at a time pretty regularly, as we now see that the Zerglings do have metabolic boost for Revival. Taking a look at Hyun, Hyun does not have metabolic boost, which is going to be very, 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 very key and critical. Queen still trying to get in position and trying to make sure that they can receive all of these units of the Roaches, simply just walking up now. Roaches going to be taking down a spine crawler. There goes one. Baneling's getting in a couple key splashes, and another spine crawler does go down. Those spine crawler splashes were very nice there. Revival taking up a lot more damage than he would like. Still, so far, both sides still engaging and attacking, and it looks like Revival will be forced to GG, as he is now down to 47 supply. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for Game 3.